Hello. So today we're going to talk a little bit about behind the scenes for this video that we made. One of the things that this video has is custom frames for the cam views when we're in uh, game mode. So when the player is not seen, we have these little frames. So this is not actually the way the footage was shot. Of course, we actually have raw game footage that just has the people. And so this is in Premiere Pro. So what I have done is I have created some custom frames. Well, Melly created them, and then I did some effects on it so that we can produce some different effects for this framing. So there's the basic frame, which is just a frame, and it, as you can see, it just covers up the edge of the crop. So I've cropped the images down, and it's just produces a nice little nameplate and that kind of stuff. And then we also have a spooky frame where I've introduced a lighting effect using alpha channels in order to create the effect of like the lights are low and you've got maybe a flashlight lighting someone's face. And then thirdly, we have what I call the closed circuit TV effect, where I've introduced some dark corners like an old CRT computer monitor. And depending on what's going on the gameplay, I'll be varying which frame is active to add just a little bit of immersion. So let's talk about how we made these and how you can also do similar effects with your own setup. So getting out of Premiere. So I'm actually using GIMP for this. I'm not using Photoshop, not for any other reason than I've just been using GIMP for much longer. And so we're going to start with we're going to create a fresh one. So just start a new project. We're going to open up one of these frames that I've been given that Millie was so gracious to create. And if we go to, okay, sorry. I know the excitement of file browsing. This will probably get edited out. Ding, 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 ding. So many files. I was saying to my kids the other day, the difference between a good editor and a bad editor is really how many assets they've collected over the years. So if we go to the art here, let's go ahead and grab, let's try Blah's frame. So what Melly was so kind to produce me is a frame. Now you'll notice the very stark green colors. So this is for alpha removal, right? And so what I wanted is a pretty prevalent color. I wanted it in two channels. This one's all green and a little bit of blue, so that I can easily remove it without too much bleed over, depending on what other colors are on the scene. And you'll see how that goes. So there's a couple of steps that we want to do in order to turn this into something that we can use for masking in the film itself. The first thing we do is we go over to layers and we go to transparency. And this is the first of two times we're going to do this. We're going to do color to alpha. So what this is going to do is allow us to set a color on the frame. We're going to select this nice bluish green that we've selected and use that as a new alpha channel. Now you'll notice the alpha channel is the little checkerboard. You'll see we do have some bleed over. We don't want this bubble, but we also don't want to alpha the actual colors here. So there's some adjustments we can make here. One is which is the transparency threshold, which kind of narrows the range at which transparency is attributed. And by adjusting that, you can see we've removed the bubble. If we go a little bit lower, you can see the bubble disappears. We want to be like right on the razor's edge. We just want to remove what we want, but we don't want to go too far because that's going to cause these images to be a little harder to deal with. You can also, if you want to, you can do split view. You can kind of preview how particular images will change. But we still see we got some checkerboarding here. So we also have the opacity threshold, which is really kind of like how tightly you want to focus on the opacity. So now we've got a pretty good balance. Now we do have an opportunity to clean this up a little bit afterwards. So it's not the end of the world if we lose a little bit of color information into the alpha, but we just want to make sure that it's as clean as we can. So we're going to go ahead and apply that. And now we've created a new image, and it's got a new channel, which is our alpha channel, and actually narrow down the alpha channel. And you can see It's not perfect. There's some shading and some things that bled into the green channels. So we will need to clean that up in a little bit, but we don't do that directly here. So the first thing we do is we take our image and we're going to decompose it into the four components here, the four channels, as separate layers. So we do that through the color tool. We go color, components, decompose. And so this will actually generate a new project, which will pop up here, which is all of the layers, all the colors in the previous are now in layers. And why we're doing this is if you look, let's say at the green layer, we've got all this white space. We're going to get rid of that. We don't want to have that. But most notably, also, I've chosen alpha value that has a little bit of blue. And so you'll see in the blue channel, there is some grayness here. And so that's going to cause some uncomfortable kind of color distortion in the final product. So we want to get rid of that. So how we're going to do that is we're going to grab this alpha channel, strictly alpha channel. We're going to edit it first. And we're going to get in here and we're going to clean it up a little bit. And so the alpha channel, it has shades of gray, but it's mostly just black and white. So we're going to go ahead and use our paintbrush tool here. We're going to make complete hardness, complete force, so that basically whatever I point to is done. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's got to be pretty good, or else you'll get like some shimmering effects as things in the scenes move. Now, in the case of a camera, there's not going to be too much motion behind the edges of the channel, so we don't really need to worry too much about like getting every single black pixel from in here, but it's worth it to try a little bit of effort to kind of clean it up, because that will just make the final product that much better. And we will end up using this still as the alpha channel later. So this one gets used a couple of times. So it's worth it to kind of spend a little bit of time tidying it up a little bit. Tidy those up. We're not going to go into Evie's ears or anything like that. We probably don't need to. You can see there's a little bit of alpha there, but that shimmering shouldn't be too much of an issue. But in the body of it, I'm going to go ahead and clean it up. And we did have some up top as well. We go into here, clean these up completely. So we don't want any of this shimmering that will come through with this alpha channel either. Kind of clean that out. Just clean all that up. Again, this is maybe a little bit perfectionism. It depends on what your stuff is. So I'm demonstrating it mostly because if you've got an image that maybe has a lot of stuff that is in the same color space as what you're using as your green screen or your chroma key, so you might have to do this more than just this, depending on what you tried to choose a color for the alpha that was less likely to be in the picture. Pure colors really work well, like magentas and things like that. So now we've got a cleaned up alpha channel. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy this a couple of times. So you can just go through and it says duplicate layer. We're going to make a couple of copies here. Actually, yeah, we're going to duplicate that layer once. And now we're going to go in here and we're going to do that same trick we did before. We're going to go layer. Actually, we'll just do it from this menu so you can see. I'm going to say layer, transparency, add. Oh, that's not what we're going to do. Layer, transparency, color to alpha. Now we can just choose white as our color, which is pretty easy. And so now this alpha channel, this copy we've created, is now a pure it's like a scissor that slices out just the stuff we wanted. So you can see down on the bottom, we can kind of remove the bubble, so to speak, with this channel. And once we've done that, we'll make a second copy here. We'll need this layer a couple of times. We're going to put it above each of the color channels. So all three channels are going to get that. And then we'll just do we'll do the merge down. So if we go to here, we go merge down. This will basically cut the bottom layer using the alpha layer that we use. Do that again. Down. Again. down. So you can see like there's some stuff. There's some remnants of that color that's still there. But when we merge it down, now we've created a palette which doesn't have any of the bleed over. We have a clean frame. So this is what I'm calling the clean frame image. So there's going to be no effects on this one, but we use this one to create the other one. So from this point, we're going to go back to the colors menu. We're going to go to components and we're going to say compose. So what this will do is take these red, green, blue, and alpha layers and turn them back into channels, creating a brand new image. So now this image, notice the alpha channel before the green channel had all this extra green. It's gone now. We don't have the green anymore. And the alpha channel is there. Now we've created our clean frame. So let's go ahead and save this because we're gonna actually create 3 different projects. So this is, give it a name, blah. Create our project so that we can come back to this later. And then from there, we are going to also export this as a PNG. So we're going to turn this into a PNG. I like to use PNGs for this stuff. So now we'll create a clean PNG. And now we have a layer that doesn't have any of the extra effects, but we'd probably like to have those 2 effects as well. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to decompose this again. So we'll go into colors again, go to components, and decompose RGBA. So it's four layers, red, green, blue, and alpha. Now we're going to do something fun. We're going to actually edit the alpha channel. Now you can do this freeform. You can take a paintbrush, you can make it a little softer. I'm going to lower the hardness quite a bit. I'm going to lower the force quite a bit. And you can, freeform, you can draw whatever shading you'd like. But in this case, I've actually done some of that work ahead of time, and I'm going to want to use it for everybody. So if I go back to one of these earlier ones I've got, so I've got one that I did for Mars here. And so this is just the alpha channel. And you can see I've added some white, which will make it darker, and then some softer whites around it to kind of make what appears to be shadows on the final product. So it's a photo negative of what you would expect as the shadow. So I've made this one. I'm going to actually just go ahead and take this as my template. I'm going to say select all, edit, copy. I'm going to hop over to this other one. I'm going to edit, paste as new layer. And now we have that other alpha layer that we can now add to the layer that we had below. And you can see it looks like it's going to match up pretty good. It's still got those corners like the CCTV. It gives a shadow around the text, which is what I want. And just like before, we're going to use the merge down function. And now we've replaced the alpha layer with this one. So the final image won't look any different in our preview because it's in the alpha. But well, we know it's there, because we can look at it. We can see we've got some stuff going on in the alpha channel, which is not where none of the color channels interact with the stuff that we've added, but that's where the magic occurs. So we go back to colors, we go back to components, we compose it back down. And we're going to create its color mode is RGBA, again, red, green, blue, alpha. We're going to merge it back. Now you can see we created something very different. Alpha channel has shadows in it. So now I've taken footage. Now I can take this and I can layer it over footage, creating the appearance of shadows. Now I've done shadows on the edges, but maybe you want to do shadows, you want to like a beam of light across the person's face or whatever. You can do whatever you need to do to make the shadows have the effects that you'd like them to have. And you just have to do it in that alpha channel while it's decomposed into separate channels. So this one we're going to save as a different thing because this is a different thing now. We're going to call this one I'm blah CCTV because it's going to give that TV set effect. I'm going to do that. And then we'll export that file. I'm blah CCTV. We're going to throw it in our processed stuff. And then we're going to repeat this process one more time. We're going to go back to our other image that was clean. It doesn't have any stuff on it. Go ahead and actually close these two. Don't need them right now. Card, that was just the decomposed one. We didn't lose our work. So we're going to decompose one more time. So we're going to go to colors, components, decompose, RGBA. We're going to go to a different frame that I created, which is here. Okay. So this one, much more, this is the, I would say you're in a dark hallway or your face is illuminated by a flashlight version of the same masking. So we're going to go ahead and take this layer, which we have created here. Once again, we're going to go to edit, select all, edit copy. We're going to hop over to our new layers, file, sorry, edit, paste as new layer. And so now we've grabbed that layer from the other image. And now we're going to merge down, creating a new alpha channel that has this new information added to it. And then from there, we're just going to go back to colors, components, compose, RGBA. Now we've created a new spookier version where the alpha channel is going to basically only allow light through the center of the pane, giving a spooky flashlight on your face type effect. So from there, we're going to go ahead and save our work. Good name, just in case we want to come back to this. Say spooky. There, we're going to also export. We're going to create a PNG of it. We're going to throw it in the processed frames folder. Export. And from there, we have created that. So now how are we going to add these? We'll just leave this open. So now, how are we going to add this to our project? So what we're going to do, so we just did Einblas. So we're going to find Einblas camera. So let's hide Melly for now. So we're going to find Einblas. We've got her footage, her camera footage, and we're going to go through the process of clipping and preparing that footage. There it is. We've got that scene. Let's find out where I've decided to put her picture image, at least for now. You can always move things later. So there's Blah. So Blah's got a frame. So Rob makes this interesting. So before we were going to do text, we're going to get rid of that. Let's go in here. Let's go ahead, and we had a simple text on there, but we've grown far beyond that. So we're going to go ahead and clear the simple text. And now we're going to add some video tracks. So fortunately, Premiere allows you to add many tracks. We're going to add 3 tracks, and these will be video tracks that will be, we're going to place it after 17. Could create 3 blank tracks for us to work with here. So now we have 3 blank tracks. So we'll go ahead and grab those images that we created. So go in here, processed frames. So we're going to have her CCTV, drop it there. We will get our clean, kind of no shadow version. Oh, where did it go? Weird. Put that there. And then we spooky. That there. Place. Can stretch these all the way to the end of the scene. That we'll do likewise for the other 2. Now you'll notice they're not sized correctly, but we will fix that in a moment. Third scene. And then we're going to go ahead and zoom out again. Zoom to fit. We're going to hide all but one. We're going to resize it. So what we're going to do is, so it's all in orders. Go to the Einblah video footage. We're going to copy its motion section, which under the effect controls, we're going to copy it to the first of our images. This copies all of our settings. It missed a little bit. We'll fix it. Then we'll grab this, find where we want it. We'll go ahead and zoom in. We'll get it exactly how we want it. Maybe zoom in a little bit more. Sure that it lines up. So we're doing the wrong one. We're doing the one that's got the CCTV. I don't know. Spookiness. We'll see. You can see that some of it's bleeding over the background. Might have to make it a little bit smaller, but maybe not. Probably about 5 or 10% smaller. So let's scale it down just a little bit. Up there. Kind of want to make sure we capture that frame that's underneath it, but we also don't want to have too much of it bleeding over the outside either. We can also crop if we'd like. So if you go in here, go to the video file, and we can go to the crop effect, and we can crop on the side just a little bit. See here, we've got a crop. Can crop to the middle of the frame so that we know that we're good. Crop to the top of the frame, little blue line, and we'll crop to the right of the frame. Middle of the frame. The frame gives us a little bit to work with, which is nice. That frame. So now we have that one done. And also copy our crop settings to the other half of her video really easily, just with a cut and paste. So it'll chop between the two. And then for here, we've got our motion values the way we want them. Copy, actually replace the motion values on the other two frames. There's a frame. See, maybe we're going to mess with it a little bit. And then put the motion value to here. So we do have her little frame, but I don't know. Maybe it's fine. It's okay. She's just a little bit extra special in her frame. So now we'll see we've got the CCTV effect. We have the CCTV effect. We have a plain frame, which just gives how you're viewing her. And then you've got your spooky effect is on top. I can't keep it straight. We've got our spooky effect. So that is how you take an image and utilize it to create a shading effect on, so that you can kind of do some lighting in post situations. You can see that the Dragonite looks like it has a shadow on it because the way the alpha blending is working. It's genuinely making the scene look like it's got more shading. So little tricks in the trade that you can do to do post processing is that's how it's done. So adding shadows, effects, framing, and then adding like subtle effects to the edges to give that feel. And that is that. You always remember to save your work.